All right, to rugby, and I'm delighted to say we've got Joey Carbery on the line. Joey, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
So my folks are snowed in Athy. I don't know how yours are getting on.
Yeah, the snow is pretty heavy where I am at the moment, so a good day to be sitting by the fire, really.
Yeah, on a day off, do you sit there and veg out and eat badly like the rest of humanity, or are you actually strictly measuring your calorie intake and you got the electronic scales out to make sure you got the right number of greens and proteins?
I suppose we try not to eat badly, but then there's always that little bit of temptation. So, but no, day off really is kind of just to regenerate and make sure we're recovering well. So food does help with that, eating the good stuff, I suppose.
Yeah. How are you getting on at the moment? What's your general sense of fitness? How close to fully 100% fit do you feel at the moment?
Yeah, I feel really fit at the moment. I've been doing a lot of conditioning while I was injured, and then coming into the games and the training, how intense it is, really helps with the fitness and getting ready for the games as well. So no, I'm feeling pretty good at the moment.
How difficult is it in the situation you're in at the minute, where you're coming off the bench and it's international test match rugby in the Six Nations, and you've got to get acclimatised really, really quickly? Yeah,
it is tough. But then again, we try and simulate training to be almost like a game standard and a game tempo. So the body gets used to it, and the lungs get used to it from training a bit. But then I suppose you can never really properly prepare how tough a game actually is. So I suppose mentally you just have to be ready for what's going to come.
Yeah, do you allow yourself to get immersed in the hype that goes with Six Nations games? Because some people, that really benefits them, and then other people crumble under that sort of hype.
Yeah, I suppose you have to be mentally strong, because how tough the games are, and over the 8 weeks in camp it is tough. So then the environment we're in, and we're pretty confident, and we're working hard at the moment. So we're really enjoying things and building towards Scotland, because we know how tough they're going to be.
What's life like adapting to being in a subs role? How do you actually prepare yourself mentally? You've got to be mentally tuned in, obviously, but you don't know what time of a match you might likely be called into it. So how do you actually get that ready? What do you do to make sure that you are switched on the moment that somebody taps you on the shoulder and says, right, off you go?
Yeah, that's the toughest thing about being a sub, really. You might come on, like Andrew Porter did against Italy, in the 3rd minute, or you might come on for the last. So I suppose it's just being nailed on with your detail, knowing what you got to do, and I suppose trying to mentally prepare for different scenarios that might come at you, and just making sure that when you get onto the pitch, you bring something and add to what you're doing.
Are you trying to be relaxed while the game is on, or are you trying to actually kind of, play that moment? Are you sitting there visualising what you'll do, or are you actually as in tune with the ebb and flow of the game itself?
Yes, especially as a 10, you kind of have to try and see how the game's going and what the tempo's like, and it is tough, and you kind of trying to keep a calm mind, because if you get built up too early, you might tire yourself out a bit. So I suppose just keeping an eye on what's happening and trying to mentally prepare yourself as well.
And would you be good at this stage at figuring out how a game is going and where you can exploit the weaknesses in an opposition match in Test rugby, or is there a lot of instruction coming from the coaches?
I'd say it's a bit of both. We obviously have to be able to see and adapt on the pitch to what we might see. There might be different holes popping up, but then we also kind of the coaches give us a few tips and a few things where we might be able to get them. So it's kind of it's coming from both sides.
Obviously, Joey, people have been wondering what your best position is, and the different roles that you're actually capable of playing is a massive benefit in terms of making sure that you're in squads and match days. But I mean, clearly at some point you want to nail down a starting position. But within that, you obviously have to have a slightly different mindset depending on what role you're playing. So I guess, especially as a bench player, you kind of need to prepare yourself for the potential that you might not be going in just as a 10, that there might be other roles that are required of you in a game.
Yeah, definitely. And Joe would normally say what positions you're covering. So during the week, you can get a few reps under your belt in the certain positions. So you can prepare like that, and then just really knowing your role for whatever position it may be, and being pretty certain with it earlier on in the week can kind of help you mentally just get ready for it as well. So yeah, it is tough, but the coaches have us well prepared.
Do you feel like you're actually somebody who isn't pigeonholed into a single position the way we outside of the rugby environment, or even anybody outside of your own kind of brains trust, that are like, oh, well, you have to be a 10 or you have to be a fullback, or who knows, maybe there's a role at 12 for you at some point in the future, that you are somebody who is a rugby player and need to be adaptable the way the game is developing and evolving at the moment? I don't know if I'm asking that question the right way, but like, do you see yourself ultimately as being a 10 and you adapt your skill sets for that, or are you trying to develop a range of other skills that maybe a 10 wouldn't be as obsessed with?
I suppose it is a tricky one at the moment, obviously, but I suppose if I'm on the pitch, I'm happy to be playing, and I know I'll have to at some stage. Now, I don't know. It really just depends on, like, in the few years' time where I am. But at the moment, I'm kind of getting myself ready to play both 10 and 15, and I suppose they do kind of complement each other, so they do make me a better rugby player, rather than maybe just a better 10. So a 10 or 15 really. So no, I think it's developing my whole range of skill set really is helping me at the moment.
So for us, for example, like we would kind of look at that and go, there's quite a significant difference between 10 and 15, but that's really only because we've watched traditional 10 and 15s play in Irish rugby over the last couple of decades, where there's been very, very specific 10s and very specific 15s. But if there is a player who can be a hybrid of both, then what is the crossover in skills between the two that you think that you actually benefit from developing those skills?
For me anyway, when you're playing at 15 and you're trying to read the 10's body language, you can get hints of what he might do from his body language, and then at 15 as well, you also know what's very tough to defend. So when I'm back playing at 10, I'll know from experience that maybe, like, trying to get out of being a right footer, getting out of the left-hand corner will be a lot tougher than the right. So, like, just little stuff like that, he kind of gives you insight and can kind of help you to know what the other players are thinking.
And even in terms then of diagnosing the shape of the opposition defence, like, you see so much differently, I suspect, from the backfield at 15 than you do from 10.
Yeah, because you can kind of see where if the 15's favouring one side, then they'll probably try and have the winger a different way. So then when you're attacking as a 10, then you can kind of read and see what they might be doing from the way they're set. So I do think that's helped me develop my game a lot.
Nick Winkelman of the IRFU was saying a couple of weeks ago that if one Irish rugby player was to make it in the NFL, he said it would be you, and he put that down to your spatial awareness and what you've just been talking about there for the last couple of minutes, that identification of space and that exploitation of space. And then he also mentioned your ability to sidestep opponents and the lateral running that you're so competent at. Is that something you're aware of? I'm not sure if you watch a lot of running backs in the NFL, but that sort of style that we don't necessarily see in rugby, but it could have a huge future if it's done very well.
I'd be a fan of the NFL and I'd watch it, and it was a pretty cool thing for Nick to say about me. But being able to change direction is a big thing, and especially being a small guy, you want to be able to get out of the way of some of the big fellas. So I think I've kind of developed that along the way, and it was a great compliment to get.
One of the things interesting I always find about watching the NFL is that, like, they diagnose, for example, a blitz comes and everybody says Tom Brady loves seeing the blitz because he knows that if there's somebody coming at him defensively, then there's space